Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Authority Marketing Live. I'm Melanie Hirschhorn, book marketing strategist for nonfiction authors and children's book authors. And I'm so excited to be bringing you yet another show this week because there are just so many incredible authors that we love to feature. So you can learn more about their books and where to buy them. And basically get some really great information that will help change your life in some way. So today, before we start, I want to remind you that very soon, and I'm talking very soon, on Monday, we have the Sparkles and Strategy Holiday Cocktail Party for nonfiction and children's book authors. And if you have not RSVP'd yet, I highly recommend that you do. It is 1 hour of your time, and you will get so much goodness from it. We're going to be celebrating authors. We are going to be networking with other like-minded authors. And I'm also going to be giving you some strategies on lead magnets, which are a great way to grow your email list. So you can get your ticket at vipdigital.live/party, and it will be worth that hour of your time. So I want to invite on our guest for today. Her name is Susan Lynch, and she has authored a wonderful book that we are going to be talking about today. And so here she is. Hi, Susan.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay, so let's talk about life after Kevin.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. So why don't you give us a bit of the backstory on why you wrote this wonderful book?
Okay, so I was a dog trainer for over 20 years. I was a mom. I had, these parallel lives. So I had been training dogs for 20 years. And in 2015, my 25-year-old son, Kevin, died unexpectedly of an accidental overdose. So that put all of the dog training on pause, of course. And I spent a few years trying to figure out how I was going to be in the world without him. So, and how my dogs helped me get there, what I've learned along the way. And I felt that if I could share my story and if it could help somebody else, then it was a win-win. So
why don't you hold up the book for us so we can see the beautiful cover?
Yeah, so it's a very hopeful cover. I wanted it to reflect the fact that this was a healing journey. It's inspiring, and I do have a life that is very full today, that has a lot of purpose in it. And part of that purpose is me going out and speaking to people about overdose, stigma, how it affects families, and how people can move forward.
And, let me just say that taking that traumatic event for you and turning it into something that you're making this world a better place, is that what keeps you going every day?
Oh, absolutely. It is. I always say Kevin's death can't be for nothing, right? So if I can make something positive out of it, then or bring up the positive things that have happened and inspire somebody else, to encourage them to, keep going, then absolutely. Grief motivates me.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
That is very interesting. Now, you mentioned something about overdose and the stigma attached. When you started on your writing journey, did you find that people were a little bit hesitant to talk to you about it, and how do you feel now? Do you feel like people are more willing to talk about overdose? Because I feel like this kind of thing touches lives, touches everybody's. I've been touched. My life has been touched by it. I understand.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's really widespread.
It is widespread. I think that the stigma part of it is complex, right? It's a huge net. So there's the stigma of the person that died. Okay, so stigmas, there's judgment. Okay, and then there's the stigma of the people that are left behind. Oh, what happened in that family?
Right.
That kind of thing. But then there's also another part where myself, I'll speak for myself, I started judging myself. So how did I not know he was taking these kinds of drugs? Because I didn't know at the time. So that was a big shock to me as well. How did I not know this? What did I do wrong? And I was never judgmental of Kevin. It was myself. So the judgment, leads to shame. I didn't want to talk about it. And, I've learned a lot from Brene Brown. I don't know if you know who she is.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, she's awesome, right? And so she says that shame needs 3 things to thrive. It needs judgment, silence, and secrecy. So when people asked, I had to make this decision, right? So in the beginning, I didn't know. We had to wait for the toxicology report to come back. But when I did find out, it was multiple drug intoxication. So he had mixed alcohol and opiates. And when I found out, I said to my husband, I can't talk to people about this. Like, I don't want to tell people. And so I was giving my shame, the judgment, the silence, and the secrecy. And I didn't tell people for 2 years. I didn't tell people. Yeah. I didn't even tell my parents, my family, nobody. Yeah. Yeah.
But that must have been so, they say like acid burns the container it sits in. What kind of mindset and place were you in those 2 years?
It was very isolating. I didn't want to leave my house. And an interesting part of this, not telling people, was I was subjected, because this is 2015, right? So Kevin died right before all the Narcan and all of that started coming out. So it was in the news, it's still in the news all the time, but it was really ramping up at that point. And I started hearing from people what their real opinions were of overdose, because they didn't know Kevin died of overdose. So it was then reinforcing the shame, right? So it's this big snowball and it gets really complicated really fast.
So what was the tipping point? What made you say, enough is enough? I'm going to take this and make his death have meaning.
So I didn't, it was a huge blowout. I had been stuffing for 2 years, right? So it's that ball you're trying to keep under the water, and then all of a sudden it goes up. So that was me. And without revealing too much of the book,
please, no spoilers, please.
Yeah, no spoilers.
No spoilers.
I came to a head with somebody, and it ended up just exploding, and I was so angry. I saw red, and I was like, I was afraid of how angry I felt. And I thought, I was at a crossroads. I absolutely was at a crossroads. And I'm like, I can either go on the way I'm going on, which clearly wasn't working for me.
Not working for you.
Right. Or I could tell my family. I had to start with my family. And I made it very purposeful. I told each one at a time. So I had to say it over and over and over.
What was that like for you to have to repeat this gut-wrenching story?
Well, it was my story. So I knew it. And I was very familiar with it. I had been, going over it for 2 years. But I think that the one of the reasons why I didn't share it with people was because I didn't want them to think different of Kevin. I didn't want, because Kevin was like very, he was hilarious. He was just made every family event better. He was just really social and open and fun. And I thought, if they think badly of him because of how he died, I couldn't bear that. Because as a mother, I want, we want our kids to be remembered as, forever. And I just couldn't bear that. But then I got to a point where I said, you know what? If they think differently of them, it's on them, not me. And I couldn't control. What I was trying to do was control how he would be remembered. And it was exhausting. It was absolutely exhausting. And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to tell him. And, of course, nobody thinks different of him, my family anyway. So that was really just a huge burden off my shoulders. And then slowly I started telling people. And then I thought, you know what? I have learned so much, so many incredible things have happened to me over the course of, this was like 5 years out. And there was another series of things that had happened. And I just said, I just need to share this with people. And I found a book coach, and she was wonderful.
You want to give her a shout out?
Yes. Allie Berthium. So I think she was a guest on, I know, she's amazing. She's amazing. And so I worked with her, and, it was a process that I have to say, when it was done, because people are like, it must have been so hard for you to write it all out. And I honestly, it was a wonderful experience. It really was. It was like, finally, I can get it out. And
it's cathartic, right? I've heard it so many times. It's cathartic.
It was so, yeah. And even when it was done, if my publisher or, my coach said, hey, you need to work on this for another year, I would have been like, okay, let's do it. Yeah. No, I'm so proud of it. And it actually, I just entered it in a book contest, and the Nonfiction Authors Association. It's a mouthful.
Nonfiction Authors.
Yeah, and it won a gold award. So
well, congratulations! That's amazing.
I'm psyched. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Okay, so what kind of marketing have you been doing for the book?
Lots. I have been on podcast. So, okay, I'll start off with my Facebook group. So, in part of what I do, I was a dog trainer. And when COVID hit, nobody could get their puppies to puppy classes, right? Because we were in lockdowns. So I had a new 8-week-old golden retriever puppy. And I thought, well, in April, it was literally April. It was like
2 weeks after.
Yeah. So I thought, well, I have a new puppy. I know what to do. I will document what I'm doing with him. Okay. So I started, and this was before I thought of writing the book. Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do this to help other people, right? New puppy parents. So I started documenting it, and I created this Facebook group. It's called Life with Rune. That's his name, Rune.
Oh,
and, yeah. And then it just kind of took off. There's like 2,700 people in it now. And I learned, I did a social media course, and I learned that when you create a group, you can archive, right? So if you get a puppy a year from now, you can come into the group and start from the very beginning. So I have like over 500 posts. So anyway, I started collecting emails as people were joining.
Yeah.
So now I have an email list.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have about almost 1,500 people on my list.
Great.
Not huge, yeah, but it's good, and I have a lot of engagement in my group. I started a blog to really offer people some more information on grief and training. So it's kind of a dual purpose. I've been on podcasts. I have started speaking via Zoom calls. I have 3 signature talks that I do. So I'm contacting the secretaries of dog clubs throughout the country because I'm a member of the Golden Retriever Club of America and Yankee Golden, which is a local Golden Retriever club. So within the dog clubs, I do a training talk and then fold in my experience with Kevin and how my dogs have helped me. And then, the book is at the end. So really it's um, a presentation with takeaways for, the person that's tuning in. And then, so there's a little bit of marketing at the end with my book.
Using years. This is great.
Yeah.
So I love all the stuff that you're doing. And I'm guessing you're seeing book sales as a result.
I am. It's interesting. When Kevin died and I stopped training, I got my dogs certified therapy dogs. So then I started volunteering at a hospice organization that local hospice. And through my connections with them, I did presentations for the hospice for their volunteers. And that week that I did that one training session, I sold 45 books on Amazon. So it's cool because you can track on the author page on Amazon with how many books you sell in a week. So I, have on my calendar what events I did, and I can see, through what I've sold. So the hospice are the people that are really, you don't have to, not that you're selling them, not, but it's a heavy subject, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much hope, and there's humor in the book, and in the end it's just really lovely. And but grief people are like sponges, and they're like, we want to learn more, and they really wanted to learn about that stigma and whatever. So I've reached out to the hospice coordinator to see if and she's going to give me a list of her hospice connections so I can be doing that more, because Zoom stuff is just, it's so convenient.
It is. Okay, quick question for you now.
Mm-hmm.
As an author who has taken the role of marketer on,
Mm-hmm.
what do you say to authors who think that writing the book is enough and that you don't have to do any marketing? People will just come to you.
Well, I will tell you that because you can track this on your Amazon author page, the weeks that I don't have a podcast or, some media thing, I have very little book sales, like very little. So you have to get the word out. You have to it's just constant boots on the ground. Tonight, I'm speaking at our library. And, I think that libraries are a really great resource because they have funding, So, I mean, not only can you do free events, but I think eventually you can get to do paid events. So libraries are a great resource as well.
Such a great tip. Okay, speaking of resources, you have given one to our audience. And so why don't you tell us what this is? And obviously this is where you go to get it, but what is it? 10 ways. 10 ways to what?
So it's 10 ways of navigating grief according to Life After Kevin. So this is another marketing tool that I did. I have my what do you call these? QR codes, yep, that links right to my website so you can learn more information. And then on the back, I have actual quotes from the book of things that I, really thought were poignant, that are relative, that are specific. Sorry, pause. Not specific to anybody's grief, so anybody can resonate with them. And then I have a little bit of an explanation underneath it. So, for example, I say, when a person believes that they are somehow responsible for the death because they didn't do enough, sentences starting with "I should have, if only, if I had just" were ones to watch out for. So that is some of the, just quotes. And then I have like the chapter and then the page number on it. So it's like really valuable information when you're going through grief and you need some direction.
Okay. Susan, thank you so, so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing all this, for your honesty, the emotion. Everyone, go get a copy of Life After Cancer. You can grab a copy here. You can go to Amazon. I'm sure it's available where all books are sold. Susan, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.